Can I switch it up a little bit? I really appreciate what Eric did. Not so much in response, but in the aftermath of a lot of this commentary, which was, let me tell you why I love hip hop. And I actually
Yeah.
had a idea a minute ago to do that, and I just never got around to doing that shit. But I think we just need a lot more of that. And I also think so much of my angst is coming from an elder space of feeling like, are we doing enough aging out of the spotlight to, leave whatever we can behind for the next generation? I think I was talking to company man, somebody who was like, yo, nobody's ever aged with hip hop before. And so like we don't quite know what we're doing. But we're doing something, and like we're kind of figuring it out. And like that's kind of my perspective. And I think that's something that young and old does not require a generational lens. When I was listening to like some of the things Eric was saying about hip hop, I was like, yeah, same. Same feelings, same like, I always call it that musty dorm room energy. You know what I'm saying? Or the musty basement energy. For me, foundational hip hop moments was my cousin, his DJ equipment, and whatever records he got since the last time I was over there, and just spinning them and playing video games for like, that was the weekend. There wasn't no outside. We was in the basement. And I know while it's not like maybe DJ equipment, it's the same energy. And I think if we focus more on that, more on the things that bring us joy still within the music and the culture and maybe even the industry, then we're doing something right?
Yeah. And that kind of goes along with the point FD was making too. If you point at those seminal hip hop moments that we had in our generation, they were communal. They was with other people. And that's not the way these kids are. They're not encountering music that way. They're encountering music on TikTok, and then if they like what's in the TikTok video, they're going to Spotify and they're just checking it out on their own and making their own judgment. Like the communal part of their experience with music actually comes after the fact. Like when they go find a YouTuber or a TikToker talking about it, and they see who's ranking like, oh, these are the best underground artists. Well, I agree with that, or I don't. And then that discourse just sort of becomes self-reflective. And I think, that's part of what makes the entire thing splinter as well, because these kids, they see us talking about Drake and Kendrick, and there's millions of us doing it, but they don't want nothing to do with that shit. Like it don't mean nothing to them. Like they just like every generation of hip hop fans, they find their own sounds, they find their own interests, and the old shit sounds corny to them for whatever reason. It's so easy for them to write it all off, especially because in a post Lil Uzi, post Cardi world, the sounds and the way things are going is just so far left field than what we came up listening to, and I think it's just really easy, like you said, to be in your own bubble just in that and not even paying attention to what us old heads is talking about. Like they don't need us to validate nothing for them, and that's part of the issue too. It's part of the disconnect, I should say, because it's not necessarily an issue, but it is sort of like the paradigm that we're in now.
No, is Curtis Blow still alive?
Curtis Blow, yeah,
real quick.
He's still alive?
Okay.
Yeah, he is.
What do you think he feel about Cardi?
I don't know, because whatever feeling he has about new rap, like that started changing 10 years into his career, probably. You know what I'm saying? Like by the time Big Daddy Kane had come along, Curtis Blow was probably like, this shit had gone too far. You know what I'm saying? Like, let alone 2-3 generations after that. You know what I'm saying?
I interviewed Alchemist and Ono. Ono is Madlib's brother. And Ono told a story about how Curtis Blow was at their house, like when they were younger, and I think Madlib was playing him music. And I think Curtis Blow was like, what's going on? Like, what is this? Like, I think he was like, nigga, what is this beat that you making right now? So, I can only imagine how he feels. But, no, just kind of talking about you and I guess talking about like guiding the discourse of where hip hop is at, and kind of talking about like the discourse of hip hop and just like the Drake and Kendrick stuff. I had made that video saying how I was just like tired of where the Drake and Kendrick stuff was leading towards on like the discourse of hip hop. I feel like it was really messing up hip hop discourse. Like the Drake and Kendrick beef made me feel like hip hop discourse is at an all-time low because it felt like the stanification of hip hop, where we're not even talking about like the music anymore. It's like if you go on like an Ariana Grande stand page, or if you go on like
any
Barb,
stand page.
Yeah, any stand page, but that's usually like pop music. You know what I'm saying? Like the only rappers that I would think to have like these like type of stands pre this was kind of like Nicki, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Kanye, like what Kanye, but that nigga can make his stands do anything. But that nigga, he can suck off Trump live on TV. They be like, hey man,
you see, he just dropped a Bitcoin. He got a Bitcoin coming. I don't know. I guess yes. So he about to make him a cool couple million off his acolytes.
He can do anything, and they'll just praise it. So Eminem definitely, that's interesting. Like the men who have the stands, like Eminem and Kanye, they lean into like racism. Like their stands, like like Kanye's been in like his Nazi bath. They're like, fuck yeah, Eminem.
I only like Eminem.
Hip hop is like a mountain. The white, the rest is black, but the top is white. Like that type of stuff. So I feel like
I heard that one, but that sounds about right.
That's what I've heard them say. So I say that to say, listening to like the stands of Kendrick and Drake, it's like, look at the sales. He can't sell this arena. Oh, he can't tour this. He can't. It's like we're not even talking about the music anymore. We're talking about the sales. We're talking about the arena sales. You guys are into wrestling, if I'm not mistaken. It's almost like when people talk about WWE versus AEW.
The tribalism, yeah.
We're not even talking about wrestling anymore. We're talking about how many viewers did AEW get? What are the ticket sales looking like? What are the quarterly hours? It's like, you sound like a fucking dork. Do you know that? You sound like an idiot.
Now, see, I don't want to cut you off, Eric. Now, when I say it, it's a problem. Why? Because I'm 30? Is that why?
Man,
is that why when I say it, they get mad and they get their panties in a bunch. But all right, continue.
The only niggas that should be talking about record sales or TV viewers for AEW are the niggas in the business. I get it. If you working for WWE and you worried about it, I get you. But as a nigga who's a watching viewer of wrestling, or you are a consumer of music, you should be talking about the music, my nigga. I don't care how much Drake sold. That's cool for him. Shout to him. Good for him. Is the album good? You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to know. I don't care how much Drake or Kendrick is doing. This nigga make good music. So I just like the standification, because that's what they do with the stand pages. The stand pages feel they care way more about that type of stuff than the music. So with all that being said,
that's not a new thing.
Sure,
hip hop. Like they've been talking about record sales and first week sales since the 90s. Like they've been talking about whether something is 10 times platinum or diamond. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the business, the industry has just always been a part of this conversation, and it's just like the fans are just catching on to it too now. It all becomes part of like the virtue signaling. Like, yeah, this person is the best, and it's reflected in this metric that we can all see. You know what I'm saying? Like that's sort of how the business is intertwined in it. And it's it's a sad thing because it does get to that tribalism, but I think just the state of the discourse.
I think the bigger factor is kind of a synthesis of what y'all are both saying, and something else that came up early is that the stand behavior also now affects the algorithms, and the algorithms are now the medium through which we engage with music. And so like now, the reason why stan culture seems so obnoxious now, like, please believe, I was my first, I think, obscure video was on cannabis. So please believe I got into near fist fights at my lunchroom cafeteria once or twice about some cannabis before his first album dropped. Right. So like I was not above stan like behavior, but there was so much more, that behavior had so much less power a generation ago, a half a generation ago, versus, now if a video positive or negative about a rapper goes viral, that has a tangible effect on the culture. Like Dumpy Tim's 88 YouTube page with 3,000 subscribers randomly has a video on insert rapper here that hits 1 million views. That has a tangible effect on the industry. And I think the industry, the content creators both know this now, and the stands are just responding because they're kind of the fuel for it all. They're the oil. And so it feels more frustrating because you are trying to talk about music. You are trying to talk about cultural aspects that aren't directly connected to Stan nonsense. You're like, one of my favorite videos from Bill was the one about beating the boogeyman, not because it was an anti-Kendrick video or whatever, because it was an excuse to nerd out on hip hop for like a whole era. That's what that video really was. But the Stans was like, nope, this is an anti-Kendrick video. And I don't know how that video did, like numbers wise or reach, but I'm sure if enough Stans click on it, I know this for a fact because of how YouTube worked. If that video got enough Kendrick or Drake Stans to click on it, it doesn't hit the hip hop fans that just want to talk about nerdy hip hop shit. It will only circulate in their area, and it'll do good numbers because they click on everything. But the cultural impact something like that could have is diminished, and so we all need to be de-stanifying the culture a little bit as much as possible, because it's like releasing an invasive species that we lose control of at this point.
Now, are we expecting the new gen to be music nerds? All I want to say about that is I said this in my Why I Love Hip Hop video. Because I think he's saying, because I was like, people are still focused on sales and stuff like that. So when I was a kid, when I went to school, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I was listening to a lot of Boosie growing up. A lot of Boosie and Webby. Love Boosie and Webby. So going to school, I'll go and be talking to, like, oh man, you heard the new Boosie song? You heard the new Webby song? We love Wayne. You heard the new Wayne mixtape? Da, 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 da. We never got to, you think the Wayne mixtape is going to do good on that piff? Think it's going to get more than 30,000 likes? I don't know. Boosie's album at 28,000. That was never a thing. We were more so saying like, damn, that nigga Webby said he was going to hop out the tree with a 223. That's crazy. So like we were super obsessed with those lines and the songs and stuff like that. So I'm not saying a nigga has to be an analytical music nerd, but I just remember when I was a kid, literally in elementary school, debating if Drake was better than Wayne, and me thinking it was asinine that Drake was better than Wayne. When I was like, what? He's like under Wayne. He can't be better than Wayne. So like, I hope those discussions are still going on versus like, man, I can't listen to him. He ain't sell this much. It's like, all right.
So a lot of my experience with this is colored through paying attention to what my son listens to. My son is 16 and he is a super big hip hop head, but in the new underground, which ain't got nothing to do with me and my underground or any of our undergrounds. It's a whole nother planet. You know what I'm saying? And they are nerds. They're huge nerds. They're not nerds about sales, because like honestly, with the streaming, sales don't even really make sense. Like, they not buying nothing. You know what I'm saying? So what do they care when it's sold? But I'll tell you one thing they do pay attention to. It's not necessarily a factor in whether they think somebody's good or not, but they track monthly listeners on Spotify. They track followers on SoundCloud, because they do want to be ahead of who's gonna blow up. You know what I'm saying? So they like being on the train when it's 20,000 listeners, so they can screenshot it. You know what I'm saying? So when Osama's son got 2 million, you could be like, no, I was there though. Yeah. I was there from the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
My favorite. Let's all share our favorite "I was there first" moments. I'm gonna let Bill go first because I'm so proud of mine. I feel like I saved mine for last.
Oh, it sounds like we're all generally. So this is the way that I describe it: is that hip hop has become the NBA, where the folk because it's not so much that we want folk to be music nerds, it's just that the folk who dominate the discourse do not love the game. And that's the problem. It's the same thing with the NBA. The folk that there are still folk that are talking about bars. There are still folk that are talking about, the quote unquote rap nerd stuff. But the folk that, and this is getting kind of macro, but I feel like this was kind of the fear with Drake, is that by he being something of a flag bearer or whatever, it would embolden those folk that now they feel like they're the authorities on the discourse. You know what I mean? Because you get the same thing with the NBA where folk, look at the box score, look at the box. But did you watch the game, nigga? Did you watch did you actually sit down and watch the final? Oh, well, this is the lowest watch finals in NBA. But did you watch it? Did you watch the game? And that becomes that, I believe, is the point that we're trying to get at.
Oh, it reminds me of I've heard a bunch of people say in regard to like manosphere content on the internet. I hear people say, "Oh, somebody should start a podcast where it's just all positive, male
brother
virtues."
Hakeem.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like they say that in a way that makes it sound like that would just pop off. You know what I'm saying? Like that would just become organically popular and spread. But like, we live in a messy culture. So it's like that part of the hip hop discourse is always going to be popular because people like mess. People like mess that don't even listen to the music. They just like the mess. You know what I'm saying? They just want to know, like, oh, what did Kendrick say about Drake? What did Drake say about Kendrick? They don't even care about the songs. They just like want to see celebrities brought down a peg or want to see stuff that's in the shadows brought to light. Like, they don't care. So, if these people start to think they're an authority, I mean, that's unfortunate, but I think it's proven over and over again. All they are an authority on is mess. You know what I'm saying? Like that's their lane. And, I think we can have stuff that's going to be in a different lane. It's going to be more critical and more constructive or deal with the things that reflect our values. But I think we just have to know those things aren't going to be as popular. You know what I'm saying?